I know we're kind of beating the drum here a little bit, but that's just kind of where we're at, and I apologize. Blast to the past on Billy here. I saw this. This was a clip of an article from a Bleacher Report that was written. I don't know when it was written, but I'm going to read it for you, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Napier was especially young to be a coordinator at age 30 and was questionable hire year for the Tigers is when he was at Clemson. After serving up a 9-4 campaign in his first season, his offense in 2010, this was 13 years ago, would suffer a below-average performance in 2010, especially at the quarterback and wide receiver position. His lack of success in 2010 was due to his predictability on offense, the play calling was conservative, and his offense failed to develop any kind of identity at any point during the season. Even when Andre Ellington was healthy, his tendencies were easy to read. As noted in the Boston College game, the players and personnel knew if the player was under center, it was a run. If it was shotgun, it was a pass. Those tendencies occupied with conservative play calling equaled the dismal below-average offense that would end up a losing record of 6-7. This honestly put a pit in my stomach. There's a couple things, 3 or 4 things that I noticed. What is something that we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks? Judge started it. Identity. I cannot believe no, we didn't read this damn article. I had no clue. This was Judd, and this is something that we have been prefacing. We have a hard time finding our identity. So clearly, there's a pattern here. The other thing, predictability. We have been preaching that since last year. I was beating the drum this year. I talked about it on Monday's show. When you look at the certain lineup, you know that we're running the football. If I'm seeing it, Billy, who else is seeing it, right? And then conservative. Those are Billy's words. He said that after the Tennessee game. I was a bit conservative at the second half. This article was written almost 10 years ago. So that when I read that really kind of put me over the edge of like, same dog, same tricks. You know what I mean? And when somebody's using those words that we have been using without reading any outside knowledge, it's just us 3 dumbass dudes just talking ball, and we're able to pluck those exact words that are describing Billy Napier, scares the living shit out of me that we might be doomed. It's basically what I'm getting at.
Not to make it any worse, but this may scare the shit out of you even more.
Thanks, Steve.
I just pulled up the 2010 roster for Clemson. Their quarterback was a guy named Taj Boyd, who had a very good career, college career. Andre Ellington was the running back, who I believe made it into an NFL roster, if I'm not mistaken. And they also had a guy named, where did he go? Oh, DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver.
I was like, it's going to be, I was thinking Sammy Watkins, but I was like, that might be a little too late.
Yeah. So
you're telling me they didn't have a lot of weapons then? They didn't have weapons.
No, they didn't have any.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, he didn't have a lot around him.
Yeah, I mean, well, if it makes you feel any better, when he was at Louisiana Lafayette, he averaged over 30 points per game, but that's the Sun Belt. That is not the SEC, ACC. So,
well, this goes back to my original comment about being over the head. I think he's great at building a program. I think he has a great system, but a system that applies, again, why he's over his head to lesser, and I'm not trying to shit on these guys, but lesser talented players that they're not as far along in their career. But he's not being able to take these IMG guys that are playing basically college ball for the last 3 years and able to develop them and make them better.
Yeah, I mean, when you look around the SEC too, I mean, there's teams with lesser talent that play against more talented teams and they're able to score more points. I mean, like, something's got to give. I mean, like, I'm glad Allie put out that video of like the 3rd and 22 and the 3rd and 15 and the 3rd and 8 and you're running the ball up the middle. That's like throwing in the towel, man. Like, what are you doing with the new clock rules and everything else? You're just going to run up the middle, waste some clock, kick it back off to Kentucky. No wonder you lost that game. There was no fight.
You're down by 2 scores, and you know that you're not going to go for it. If you're not going to go for it on 3rd and 18, right? You know you're not going to try to get the 18 yards. If you're down by 2 scores, and you know this clock is going to continue to run.
Exactly.
I mean, throw an incomplete pass. Just throw an incomplete pass at somebody's feet to stop the clock. Just try to give yourself as much time as possible. You're turning around and handing the ball off on a draw up the middle, getting 2 yards, and the clock just keeps on just eating away at you. You're just not doing yourself any favors in that regard.
Just real quick. Go ahead.
If you're gonna go ahead and punt, you might as well just throw it deep and let it get picked.
Yeah, same thing. So Tawan Shosum, you're saying you're commenting to this article here saying that was before Alabama and UL. And then he says he wouldn't have gotten a job after that at Alabama. He went to Alabama as a wide receiver coach, so he got demoted. So guys suck at a job and get demoted elsewhere, so that's not true, first of all. Second of all, he wouldn't have won Sun Belt conferences in back-to-back years. Okay, let me answer that question here. I understand that was 10 years ago, and I've also heard that he struggled at Clemson. I usually put it to the side. The point that I'm making is that the words that we're using to describe his offense now was used to describe the offense 10 years ago. That's what I'm saying. And to your comment about he won the Sun Belt Conference back-to-back, I literally just explained that it's different. I don't think he has a poor system. I don't think his system works well in this level of talent. Again, I have been a huge Billy supporter.
I also think the lack of a dual threat quarterback, a true dual threat quarterback's hurting his offense too.
See, I want to believe you on that too, but we had him last year and we talked shit about the dual threat quarterback last year. So I can't support this.
Hey, hold on, no. But how many games did we lose and how much did we lose by? Plus our defense was not that great either.
Yeah,
I know, but we gave Anthony shit. Yeah, and we gave Anthony shit.
Yeah, but I mean,
there were
like
times that Anthony was the antithesis of why you lost some of those games. Like the USF game, you won it, but your defense didn't win it. Your offense just barely didn't give it away. So the dynamic of having a running quarterback, I don't know, because I didn't see a whole lot of option reads that Anthony was running. I think Anthony would see that he couldn't figure out where to throw the damn ball and was just faster than everybody else. It didn't feel like there was an offense built around his skill set.
But they were able to run the football better. When you have a dual threat quarterback, you got to account for him, and you're able to run the football better. But
sure,
as you said, I mean, not every game is going to be decided on the offense or defense of whether you win or lose it, though. Too. I mean, you're going to have a back and forth. Was it the offense's fault? Was it the defense's fault? At the end of the day, we all know as Florida Gator fans, our defense sucked last year. It was horrible, and that's how we lost.
Well, the other part of it is Anthony Richardson he wasn't scared to throw the ball. The dude can throw the ball 80 yards on one knee. So Anthony Richardson would chuck a football and keep the damn safeties from stepping up into the box and making his life hell if he had to take off and run. He'd throw the ball down the field. He may not connect, but he was going to make sure the safeties knew he could do it. And I don't think that's where Mertz is. Mertz is keeping everything, inside a 15, maybe 18-yard radius.